Okarun was once a nerdy little boy with 0 friends and even fewer girls. But fast forward and bro has every woman in school and even aliens after his golden balls. So hide your huzz, because this is the full story of how Ken Takakura had the biggest glow up in Dandadan. Because to begin with, bro was just a scrawny little dude reading about aliens in peace. That was until some high school NPCs started bullying him for it. But out of nowhere, Momo Ayase came in and defended him. Instantly, man's brain short-circuited. A girl talked to him, a real one. So already at this point, Okarun was planning the wedding in his head. However, he fumbled hard because bro starts nerding out about UAPs and aliens. But instead, Momo hits him with the Uno reverse. She believes in ghosts as her grandma's a professional psychic. Something so ridiculous that even Okarun laughs. And well, maybe he got what he wanted as they start arguing like they're already a married couple. Nonetheless, they decide to prove whose supernatural stuff is really real. Okarun hits the haunted tunnel and Momo goes to the alien hospital. To him, it's nothing more than a simple side quest because, I mean, ghosts aren't actually real. Yeah, bro got jump scared by the turbo gilf who not only cursed him but even stole his balls. Something that would change his life forever. Because this was where Okarun's journey into becoming the Turbo Giga Chad truly began. As meanwhile, Momo gets abducted by aliens. Luckily, the possessed Okarun crashes the Diddy party to rescue her. What's more is that Momo ends up awakening her psychic powers and saves them both. Now, they believe in both ghosts and aliens. Totally trauma bonded for life. I mean, seriously, try explaining that to their kids in the future. Dad, how did you and mommy meet?
I prefer really not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble.
Back on the ground though, he finally tells Momo his full name, Ken Takakura. She flips out because that is her celebrity crush's name, and so she refuses to call him it and just renames him Okarun. Man lost his identity and family jewels in one night, but he also met the girl of his dreams, so big dub if you ask me. However, as he stays over at Momo's to sort out the Turbo Granny curse, he is big mad about missing his balls. And I mean, I get it, but he's also low-key sad because he thinks a girl like Momo would never actually want to be friends with a dude like him. But little did bro realize how wrong he was, because from here on out, the women would just keep coming. That sounded crazy. But it's true, there is always an op out there looking to take Momo's man. That's right, we're gonna cover this Chad's entire story and how he managed to rizz up everyone around him, as well as the deeper message behind finally getting his golden Kintama back. Which is when, the next day, Okarun pulls up to school like the usual shy kid he is, constantly daydreaming about Momo. But when class ends and it's lunchtime, he can't find her anywhere, and so his brain instantly jumps to, I fumbled the bag. That's until he literally bumps into Momo and they accidentally kiss. Yep, first kiss unlocked already. Now, was it by complete accident? Yes. Was it witnessed by Momo's friends and totally embarrassing? Also yes. And so they start arguing about how they're not dating and how Momo would never kiss a big dork like Okarun. But deep down, even her friends get it. They are made for each other. Elsewhere though, Okarun storms off to the bathroom and suddenly realizes his balls are gone. He rushes back to tell Momo, but she's still salty and tells him to leave her alone. And so at this point, not only are Okarun's balls missing, his heart is broken too. My guy is really going through it. Which is when he gets approached by this cutie who starts being super nice to him out of nowhere. Now, you may be thinking, wow, that was easy, bro's already a Chad. Well, no. It's all just an act of bullying. Because this girl is Aira, the popular one, who is teasing Okarun to feel better about herself. Not to worry though, because enter Momo, who drops a bathtub on her bitch ass. She ain't gonna let her man be used by some thought like that, regardless of if they're on speaking terms or not. However, that's when the actual cool kids show up and ask Okarun if he can hook them up with Momo because she got a bad. After all, no way she'd settle for a mong like him if a real man showed up, right? Well, that's when Okarun hears the guy saying that there's a rumor going around about Momo, and so he snaps snaps, transforms, and squares up. However, he runs off to avoid ending this dude's whole career, only to find out Turbo Granny snuck into his backpack. But that's not what's truly important, as this act shows that Okarun's finally learning to stand up for himself, not just when it's about life or death shonen battles, but when someone's trying to talk bad about his girl. But then he sees Momo, gets flustered, runs off, and loses all that aura that he just built up. Meanwhile, she gets called aside by Aira, the woman who spread the rumors of Momo being a slut to begin with. What's more is that she has Okarun's lost golden Kintama. However, he, now running on that main character energy, sprints over and catches the acrobatic silky spirit, straight up kidnapping Aira. Man goes full power to save her, but once again fumbles. And so instead, they all get eaten. Nonetheless, Momo ain't no damsel in distress. This ain't no mid-2000s shonen anime boy. She straight up sets the yokai's hair on fire from inside her stomach and gets all three of them yeeted on out of there, where they are finally able to defeat the acrobatic Silky and save Aira from death. And so just like that, Okarun added a second girl to his unknowing harem. Bro is winning. And if you want to feel like you've got that main character energy, then you need some gamer sups in your life. I mean, hell yeah. You can even have a glow up like Okarun by drinking gamer sups, as it's 0 sugar and 0 calories. But of course, the je ne sais quoi are the waifu cups. You can build your own little harem. And if you're really unsure for whatever mind-boggling reason, you can legit just try a free sample and see for yourself, so good. You might as well. Just use code ABD at checkout to support the channel. Thank you. Now, back at Momo's place, Okarun is trying his best to keep it low-key whilst Aira and Momo argue. You see, Aira's convinced that Momo is her enemy, but before storming off, she asks Okarun why he even saved her if she is a demon. However, with the pure golden retriever energy that this guy has, bro explains that it was just the right thing to do. Just like how Momo looked past the monster that was Turbo Granny, Okarun sees past the monster that was Aira. But it's more than just that. Momo helped Okarun even though he was a total loser, like how he helped Aira despite being a total bully. This is what makes him different. He doesn't judge others anymore. That's why people keep falling for him, as Aira now promises to free him from the demonic grip that Momo Ayase supposedly has on him. That's right, it is now 100% a battle for his heart. And so, the next day, Okarun tells Momo that he's got homework and can't hang out, which is cap. Because in reality, he's secretly training to get stronger. He's on that grind. But guess who pulls up mid-workout? Aira. And she tries to kiss him. Okarun explained that this ain't the Rizz she thinks it is, but also forgets that he's in an anime, thus slips, falls, and lands right on top of her. Just as this happens, guess who walks in? Momo. This is the first time we really see jealousy hit. Momo's not just mad he lied, she's now hurt and heartbroken. But then things get weird as the floor floods and classmates vanish. The Serpo are back. And so Okarun does his thing and locks in to say fine shit, only for him to get wrecked and for them to all end up naked. But this time Aira backs it up, revealing she inherited powers from the acrobatic Silky, and what's more, she can't believe her eyes. Nonetheless, after getting smoked, together they manage to escape their bindings, but Okarun still can't go full power thanks to the Serpo's suppression tech. However, just when things begin to get desperate, Momo returns. But that's not all. The Dover demon also pulls up, and so does Nessie, which Aira finds adorable when Okarun nerds out about all this. In spite of that though, he tries to go turbo mode to fight, but guess what? Turbo Granny can't swim. However, with chaos unfolding all around them, Okarun and Momo figure out a way to save Aira. Thing is, now they all have to strip down into their underwear, which Aira finds super embarrassing in front of Okarun, telling him he'd better accept the responsibility for this. From there, the trio then team up to defeat the final boss. The empty space breaks, and they're all naked in the school hallway. To everyone else, yes, it's exactly what it looks like. Because getting caught naked and cuddling on the floor to defeat an alien version of the Loch Ness Monster isn't really the most believable story. Nonetheless, after finding new clothes and hiding in the infirmary, the trio reflect on what happened. Okarun figures out that the aliens might be after yokai powers, and maybe his other Kintama is still with them. But then the convo turns to the incident, which is when Okarun owns up that he was doing secret training to try and be cool because bro knows that he needs a glow up to have any chance of pulling a baddie, and that makes Momo happy. That's all she wanted, just honesty, effort, and emotion from her man. None of that toxic masculinity bullshit. But just as Momo's about to say something back, her friends walk in and ruin the moment by accusing her of fighting Aira out of jealousy for Okarun. Nonetheless, whilst the battle of best girl continues, a new best boy enters the scene. Gigi, Momo's first crush. Even after all of the battles he's been through so far, the most damage Okarun had felt was right then, and it was emotional. Thus, to distract himself, Okarun dives into a bit of solo training during lunch. Dude's literally looks maxing at his desk when Momo casually strolls in and offers to feed him since he's mid-rep and can't use his hands. And so, for a moment, his life has peaked. It doesn't get better than that. But then, Gigi shows up, and Okarun just quietly leaves. He tells himself that it's for the best. Maybe it's time to stop being friends. Maybe this is how it all ends. Maybe the glow up is over. As Okarun doesn't fight for Momo because deep down he still doesn't think he deserves her. But that is about to change, because suddenly a living anatomical model starts sprinting across the school, which is when Okarun sees a shiny ball. Eventually they track it to a junkyard where they find the model, Taro, crumpled on the ground, screaming for someone named Hana. Turns out she is a female anatomical model, and the two are in love. However, Taro's dramatic "I'll never stop searching for you" speech hits Okarun in the heart hard. And whilst it turns out that the model didn't have Okarun's testicle, it didn't matter, because he finally decided to grow a pair regardless. As when Okarun sees Gigi getting a little bit too comfortable with Momo, he tries to reassert his presence as the alpha randomly sings a song, but then gets immediately joined in by Gigi as if it's a duo. What's worse is that Momo's planning to go to Gigi's house for the weekend to defeat a curse. Luckily for Okarun though, he's also been invited, and so bro is back in the game. But on the train ride over, the two start to bond. Okarun tries to hate him, but he can't. And so later they have a little kickabout, which is when Gigi directly asks Okarun if he likes Momo. They go back and forth and it turns into a straight up debate about who likes her more. Gigi says that he wins because he's known her longer, but then Okarun remembers the kiss. He doesn't flex it, obviously, but just instead declares himself the winner, and rightly so. But then it all explodes, and by it I mean, well, chaos. Turns out Gigi's landlords, the Keto family, are actually part of an old cult that sacrifices people to a giant man-eating worm to stop a volcano from erupting. And so inside the cavern, the worm unleashes psychic waves that mess with their minds, pushing them towards self-destruction. But Gigi saves them. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though, as he then gets possessed by the evil eye, one of the strongest curses going. Nonetheless, Momo ends up back above ground to safety and heads off to save the village, whilst Okarun goes head to head with his romantic off. Yes, the evil eye nearly tears him apart, but by threatening Momo, something snaps in Okarun, who goes full sicko mode. He is finally fighting for what he loves and succeeds. Back home, however, Aira can't believe she missed the whole thing, and so 1-0 to Momo. Also, as they head to the hospital, she holds Okarun's hand and refuses to let go. 1-0 to him over Gigi. From there, things started to almost feel normal again. At school, Momo asks Okarun and Aira to sleep over at her place to keep an eye on Gigi, just in case the evil eye breaks out again. But of course, both Okarun and Aira turn bright red. Okarun is buzzing to have a sleepover with Momo, and Aira is buzzing to have a sleepover with Okarun. However, that wouldn't be the best thing to happen to my guy that week, as then comes the maid cafe incident. Miko and Muko force Okarun into going out with them, only for him to find out Momo's working there in full cosplay. Thus,
Lord have
bro
mercy, I'm
goes
about to
full
burst.
Gooner mode. In fact, when Aira later learns that he might be into that stuff, she considers getting a job and dressing up for him too. I mean, some guys just have it all, don't they? Nonetheless, Okarun insists on staying to walk Momo home, but she brushes him off. He respects it until he shows up later anyway, because there is no way he is letting the huz walk alone at night. He has become a real gentleman. And good thing bro knows how to keep her safe, as when the evil eye pops back out and attacks her, tearing Momo's clothes off, Okarun is there to break the two of them up and make sure she is safe. And so it is 2-0 to Okarun, which is when Gigi realizes that Mr. Ken Takakura is the man for Momo. But little did Okarun realize that he would soon meet a woman that was out of this world. As following his weekly scrap with the evil eye, the Ayase house gets rebuilt with nanotech, with Okarun getting a heartfelt thank you from Momo. However, he tells her that it's not just her home anymore, it's his too. Then at school, things continue to change. Okarun is so used to being invisible that when a classmate walks up and actually wants to talk, he is baffled. The guy straight up asks how he's managed to bag not one, but 2 baddies. But just as Okarun's stumbling through his denial, Momo bursts into the classroom and blurts out that he's found his missing nut. Realizing how mental that must sound to everyone else, Okarun drags her outside to talk, but the class pres misreads the whole thing like Momo's bullying him and forcing him to obey her, which pisses Momo off. Nonetheless, they head to a nearby apartment complex to track down the Gintama, and as they walk, Okarun admits something kind of sad. No one ever really talked to him before, but now people are suddenly approaching him to chat and he doesn't know why. But to Momo, this is obvious. It's because Okarun is mogging all of them. Let's be real. Something which makes him happy. But their moment gets hijacked when Kinta, the same classmate from earlier, suddenly gets yoinked by some invisible force and flung straight at them. And well, this is an anime, and so Kinta's lips are destined to touch Momo's, but not on Okarun's watch. Bro bends the laws of anime and almost kills the kid on the spot. However, that's when he sees it, the floating Gintama. Except it's not just floating, it's being protected by a freaking kaiju. Aira and Gigi show up to help, but Aira nearly gets bodied, and so Okarun does not hesitate. He blitzes in to save his side hoe, even if it means burning out his transformation. Now regrouped though, Okarun gets an idea. If the newly rebuilt Ayase house is made of alien nanoskin, maybe they can turn it into a weapon, giving them their very own mecha to fight back with and defeat the kaiju. Crisis averted, right? Wrong. Because when they unzip the kaiju suit, there is a girl inside. Not just any girl though, an alien. And the moment she lays eyes on Okarun, she kisses him. Everyone is stunned. Momo hits maximum rage mode and physically eats her ass off of him. Okarun tries to play the mediator here, but when he slips up and says that the alien girl is kinda cute though, Momo just walks off wanting absolutely nothing to do with anything. And so yes, he fumbled hard again, but he did add yet another girl to his harem. Now this is Vamola, and she's not just some random alien. She came to Earth with one goal: marry the person strong enough to beat her, and that person is Okarun. So later at dinner, Vamola joins the squad like it's all just totally normal. Okarun's trying to help her eat, Momo's side-eyeing her like she's ready to throw hands. Aira hates her because they've already thrown hands. However, Okarun is taking a real interest in Vamola. After all, she is an alien and bro loves aliens. Thus, Momo sits right next to him just to death stare Vamola. He tries to save the situation, but my guy is literally drooling here. That's right, Okarun is no longer the shy loser that he was before, and his glow-up's not even finished yet. Can you believe that? However, it did nearly all come to a traumatic end. Nonetheless, at school, Okarun continues to juggle more attention than ever. What's more is that Vamola's put into Okarun's class with him being tasked to look after her, but only if that was all. Because with the class pres trying to protect him from people like Momo and Aira, she doesn't allow them into the class, because deep down, she wants him too. Unfortunately, she's too late, because Vamola's already publicly declaring Okarun her boyfriend. He tries to correct her, but the damage is already done. Even the class class reps side-eyeing him now. But the real problem here is that Momo is pissed again. She's been trying to get his attention after the class pres cockblocked her, but Okarun was having way too much fun playing boyfriend and girlfriend with Vamola to even notice. Thus, she drags Okarun outside and pins him against the wall whilst Aira and Vamola hold her back. Still, there are bigger stuff to worry about. He walks Vamola home like usual. She clings to him again and again and again, 5 times, until he finally shouts out that he can't marry her because he wants Momo. But that moment of honesty is the exact moment that his world gets flipped upside down, because he turns the corner and suddenly aliens are waiting. And not just any aliens, these are the Kur, the most brutal and feared army in the galaxy. Trust me, you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. And so they beat Okarun's ass and take his Kintama. He's left unconscious and dying until Mr. Mantis Shrimp crashes the party and saves his life. But unfortunately, the damage is already done, as back at the Ayase house, Okarun is on life support. Thus, Momo blames Vamola for outing them to her alien amigos, and so kicks her out into the street. Everyone starts fighting, but Okarun pulls out his mouthpiece and asks them to all get along, acting as the emotional support anchor of the entire group. Because whilst this is a great harem, it's a friend group first and foremost. And so his squad doesn't abandon him. Instead, they level up and prepare for war. However, it's during this time that Okarun begins to astral project himself, and what he sees is, well, it ain't looking good, Chief. You see, Momo had been haunted by Reiko Kashima, the world's strongest yokai, and could hear constant banging on the walls. However, Gigi came in clutch, helping her sleep by using his chi to suppress her hearing, as it would also be a form of training for him. However, to Okarun, this looked like a rather intimate misunderstanding. Even when he learns that the entire world is at stake, he can't stop thinking about the two of them sleeping together. Nonetheless, the others set off to fight, but not before one last visit to Okarun. Thus, Aira, battered and exhausted, pushes forward harder than ever. Gigi, still haunted by the trauma of the evil eye, chooses to stand and fight. Even Vamola doesn't hesitate to throw herself in harm's way to protect her hubby's planet. And so these aren't just teammates, these aren't just lovers, they're Okarun's people. And even without him there, they embody the very best parts of him, because he is him. And so he wakes up, sees a plate of curry and a little note beside it from Momo that says "love ya," and locks the fuck in. When he finally arrives in the battlefield, it is chaos. Vamola is left on death's door, and Momo is also left hopeless. But that's when Okarun proved why everybody wants him. When it looked like Momo was dead, bro leveled up and saved her. The craziest part though was that then Reiko Kashima appeared. She vaporized the entire Kur force in seconds and then set her sights on Momo. But Okarun doesn't back down. He steps in front of her, arms wide, shielding her with his own body, because the thought of losing her again is unbearable. Nonetheless, Reiko sees the young love blossoming between them, reminding herself of her own childhood lover, thus she leaves them be. But not before reminding Momo to stick true with her feelings and be with Okarun, or else she will take him for herself. So I guess that's another added to the harem? Yay? But with his Kintama finally back where it belongs, Okarun returns to school. There he reunites with Momo and Kinta, only to find that Vamola has been learning Japanese through, well, less than ideal sources. She now speaks like a cross between Okarun and Turbo Granny, leaving him scrambling to apologize for becoming her accidental role model. But you see, despite being a supposed fiance, Okarun's becoming more like a big brother to her. But things quickly shift gears when Kinta proposes that they start a school club. However, as they clean the new club room, Momo gets close. Like, really close. She wants Okarun to bring up the curry note she left for him. But once again, bro fumbles the vibe and says that his heart would race if any girl got that close, not just Momo, and so she gets pissed again and dips. That's when Rin Sawaki, Okarun's class pres, approaches him. And well, she's a little unhinged. She straight up asks if he is a vampire, having caught glimpses of his Turbo Granny form. What's more is that he's caught off guard when she mentions finding a golden ball, which she dropped off at the local police box. However, ever since handing in the Kintama, Rin's been plagued by a strange heaviness, a spiritual pressure that she can't explain, but was simply too scared to confront Okarun about it earlier, worried about how it'd react. Nonetheless, just when they arrive at the police box, they learn someone has already claimed the ball, and the officer refuses to say who, but then it attacks. Rin collapses as a grotesque yokai, the Onbusman, manifests and weighs her down. Okarun immediately transforms, ready to throw hands, but his blows pass right through the creature. Thus, Okarun speedruns Rin to the Ayase house because the spirit is actually Rin's childhood bestie, Mai Kawabanga, who passed away before chasing her idle dreams. Now she is back as a yokai, full of spiritual beef with Rin. Therefore, to save her, the gang set up a wild plan to reenact Mai's final journey to her audition by hauling a giant dashi float through town. However, Mai never truly disappears. She instead changes and becomes an ally. And it's when she presses Rin about becoming an idol that she learns she's since changed and wants to write light novels. But not just any light novels, a romance story between a girl and a vampire. Yep, that's right, Rin's projected her Wattpad fantasies onto Okarun and now also wants those golden Kintama for other purposes. Talking of which, he goes to look for his balls, needing Momo's aura sensing abilities to do so. But here's the thing, Okarun woke up with negative Rizz once again and can't even look at her. And so to sum it all up perfectly, as they check the police box, no aura. But even if his ball was there, it would still be auraless because that is Okarun right now. Bro needs to lock in. Thus they go full Scooby-Doo mode and find out that a student named Unji Zuma from Renjaku High has the golden Kintama they've been looking for. They pull up and immediately get caught in a turf war. Some rando tries to touch Momo's hair, with Okarun stepping in and almost, very nearly, aura farms. Turns out though that Unji is like Okarun and also possessed. What's more is that he went inside a diorama, just like Momo, who also gets yoinked inside. There she meets Zuma, who when transformed is smooth with the ladies. And so Okarun and the group squad up to save her, but it's too late, as Momo and Unji already smashed the cursed crystal inside, which was a bad idea. Turns out this game was actually a trap to release a yokai called the Fairy Tale card, who's been trying to catfish people into freeing it. It possesses Unji and draws out the maximum power of Umbrella Boy, nearly killing Momo in the process. And so the only way to defeat such a powerful foe would be for Okarun to get his ball back, which would, in turn, allow him to use Turbo Granny's power inside the diorama. Now, as you will have established so far, Okarun chasing after his golden balls are more than just a mere source of shonen power-ups. They're actually the entire story of his glow-up. It's a metaphor for adolescence, masculinity, and self-actualization. His missing golden ball becomes symbolic of the confusion and insecurity that often comes with puberty. The journey to reclaim that missing part of himself is filled with challenges, humiliations, and emotional battles, all of which mirror the process of growing up. Yet in each encounter, he makes choices that reflect maturity, be it protecting others or refusing to run away. It's the culmination of his glow-up, which is symbolized in probably the most important moment of his character so far, because after helping Momo, Okarun tells us that everything's gonna be okay. Rin's out there putting in the work to get everyone out, which is when, using her gravity manipulation, everyone begins floating up into the sky, except Momo. So what does Okarun do? He grabs her hand and offers her his second Kintama, the thing he's been chasing all arc, just to save her, but it doesn't work. However, even as she's grounded, he refuses to leave her hopeless. Turbo Granny sticks with Momo to keep her lucky, and Okarun's given the job of defeating the Fairy Tale card and breaking the curse for real. And so as Momo tells him to let go and hurry up, Okarun hits her with the confession of love. He explains how hard it was being apart and how much she means to him. Nonetheless, she lets go and Okarun shoots up into the sky, telling him to finish the fight so that she can hear the full confession when things are normal again. However, even after defeating the Fairy Tale card, when Momo returns, she is so small that she fits into Okarun's hands, and this brings it all full circle. Because like I said, much like how Okarun gaining his balls back was a metaphor for him maturing and becoming a man as part of his glow up, now it's Momo's turn. And so he finally does get both of his balls back, but in turn loses Turbo Granny's power. In spite of this, all of the insane feats he's achieved with her has put Okarun in the best shape ever. He's ripped, athletic, and quite literally the school's aura farmer, even in sports. But for Momo, she now quite literally has to grow up. She must accept Okarun's feelings and, like Reiko Kashima said, be true to her own and confess. That's why she tells Okarun to wait until she's back to her normal size for them to finally confess their love. Now, if you enjoyed this video, it'd mean the world to me if you could leave a like, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. And whilst you're here, check this video out on your screen right now.